Welcome to my mother's lunch stand. My mother was Saloma Miller, and this is the way her lunch stand was 25 years ago. You see, this is where the Hartville kitchen really started, not in anything like the restaurant you know today, but a simple lunch stand in the early 60s. In the next few moments, you are going to see the Hartville kitchen scrapbook testifying to 25 years of God's blessings. Now, on with the story and answer the question, why was there a lunch stand on the second floor of a barn? Let's go back a few years to 1939 and my father, Sal Miller. October 30th, 1939, in a 40 by 80 foot building built out of lumber cut from my grandfather's farm, my dad saw his dream become a reality, his own livestock auction. It was only a few cattle pens and an arena, but it was his. With an auction comes people, he hoped, and people get hungry, so Mother opened a lunch stand on the side of the sale barn. In 1942, he built the first of many additions, with more cattle pens, hog pens, and additional office space. The auction continued to grow, and the lunch stand was moved to the second floor. In 1947, we made another addition, and the lunch stand and the offices were also made larger. Also, in the mid-40s, we began the egg auction and began selling produce. Shortly after the egg auction began, he started selling spots to people to sell their own merchandise, and the flea market was established as we know it today. In 1951, we added a grocery store and a gas station to the sale barn, and I operated those businesses. A few years later, in 1954, we made an addition to the grocery store and added some restrooms. In 1958, my father passed away, and Moses Yoder and I leased the auction from my mother and operated it until 1962. It was in 1962 that I bought the business from my mother and family. It was also in 1962 that we converted the grocery store into a dry goods store and built a new gas station west of the old one and converted the old gas station into a coin shop. It was when the Department of Health would not allow the lunch stand to continue to operate above the livestock auction that I made the decision to close the dry goods store and convert it into a restaurant. After a time of construction, we finally opened the new restaurant on March 4th, 1966. It was a 75-seat dining room, including a counter. The equipment was all used. I bought it from the old Canton City Bus Lines restaurant. We opened with the idea that if business wasn't good, we would only open for the auction. That was Tuesday. By Saturday, we had a long line waiting for dinner, and they haven't stopped since. All meals were $1 except for shrimp, which was $1.25. Coke and coffee were 10 cents. My wife, Sarah, was the original cook, dishwasher, and everything else. Mom made the pies, and they were brought over to the restaurant from her house in a pie carrier. For the first year, we opened at 6 in the morning, closed at 8 at night, and served a full breakfast. After about a year of this, we stopped serving breakfast and opened in time for lunch. On the early menu, we had most of what we serve now, with the addition of things like fried mush, grits, and liver pudding. The livestock auction closed shortly after the restaurant opened, and the restaurant began to expand into the rest of the buildings. We converted the old arena into a gym for the neighborhood kids, and a small cabinet shop operated out of the back. A new dining room was opened, giving us another 120 seats, and we added a pie and waiting room and expanded the egg auction. In 1971, we moved a gas station across the street and expanded the dining room to its present size, seating 282 people. The coin shop was moved to the east side of the building, and a serving kitchen was built. One year, Junior and I were at a hardware show in Chicago. We bought some wall clocks and put them up for sale in our lobby. They sold so well, we decided to begin selling grandfather clocks also. In 1973, with a Hummel case, some Fenton glassware, and other collectibles, we started the gift shop. At the same time the restaurant was growing, the flea market outside was growing as well. In 1975, there were over 12,000 flea market setups. We sold over 200,000 dozen of eggs, more than 100,000 baskets of produce of all kinds. We also sold chickens, ducks, rabbits, geese, and about anything imaginable. And in that same year, our restaurant served over 400,000 people. Some of you may remember the snowstorm of Thanksgiving 1974. The restaurant was closed for Thanksgiving as usual, but because the snow was so deep, we could not reopen until a week later. There were more changes starting in 1976. It had become necessary to close the egg auction in December and continue the expansion of the restaurant. A dishwashing area was added, and later space for the gift shop and offices were also added. Part of the expansion was the marketing of our salad dressing outside of the restaurant. The salad dressing business has grown to the current volume of 2,000 cases of pints per week and 400 cases of gallons per week. The restaurant experienced another major change in 1978. The name Country Kitchen was owned by a restaurant group of the same name, and they told us that we could no longer use the name Country Kitchen. So we renamed the restaurant Hartville Kitchen. The gift shop also grew with the restaurant and flea market. From its simple beginning in 1973, it grew to be one of the most respected gift shops in northeastern Ohio, hosting special collectible shows such as Precious Moments, Hummels, David Winters, and others, and drawing as many as 1,700 people. This is the Hartville Kitchen as we know it today, with added office space, enlarged gift shop, bakery, additional restrooms. We have seen many changes and served many people during these past 25 years. When we started, we had 10 employees and a weekly payroll of $150. And today, 25 years later, we have 120 employees and a weekly payroll of $20,000. If these buildings could only talk, they would have some stories to tell.
I'll never forget the day Butch come flying into the waitress room all flustered, and he said, "This lady out here asked for a fly swatter." And we said, "A fly swatter? What does she want with a fly swatter?" He said, "I don't know. What do I do?" I said, "Well, there's one hanging on the wall in the pie room. Take it out and give it to her." And we were kind of curious, and so we peeked around the corner to see what this lady's going to do with a fly swatter. And as Butch hands it to her, she looked at him and said in a southern drawl, "Honey, I asked for a glass of ice water."
On a busy evening rush hour, I went to the wrong couple with my dessert. When I set the pie down in front of the gentleman, I said, "Pumpkin." He stopped, pushed back his chair, turned, took my hand, and said, "Honey, I ain't been called Pumpkin in years."
This has been my scrapbook of the Hartville kitchen for the past 25 years. But now I am looking forward to the years to come and my new scrapbook. To thank God for these 25 years of blessings. First of all, for the blessings of salvation and forgiveness of sin, which comes through believing in His Son, Jesus Christ. Second, I am thankful for the blessings of my children, my grandchildren, and all of our employees. I am grateful for the faith of my parents and my children, and for all who call upon the name of the Lord. And I'm also thankful to have been allowed by God to be part of the blessings at the Hartville Kitchen.